what's going on, everybody? This is Columbus This Week with Trevor and Eric, and we're bringing you all the latest news, events, and stories and cool stuff that you care about. So, Trevor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's good. So, before we get started, I think by the time anybody hears this, they should have heard of the Hurricane Harvey in Houston and all the craziness that's going on down in Southeast Texas. So, we're going to post a link to the Red Cross website so you can actually go in there and donate money. And then if you have iTunes and the Google Play Store, I think you can donate money through those too. So I strongly encourage you to, because some of us are like storm junkies like me. And I've been following it on like the Weather Channel, and they're supposed to get like 5 feet of rainwater. So that's massive chaos and disaster. So
It's absolutely insane.
Hopefully, so far I've heard only 5 people. I mean, obviously each one's tragic, but I only heard that 5 people have died so far. So I think, though, in the grand scheme of things, that's like a very, optimistic, positive thing compared to how bad it could go.
Yeah, I mean, so from what I've seen, this is going to end up probably being not nearly as bad as Katrina was, despite the fact that there's more water coming than there was for Katrina. I mean, the infrastructure just isn't the same. The city being hit isn't literally, halfway hanging off the coast.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Anyway, so Trevor? Events first. So we got 2 events going on. One I'm actually really excited for. I think it's gonna be cool. And it's not so it's not really like an event per se, but it's a grand opening of the Keep liquor bar in the Levesque Tower. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Just from what I've seen for like the food and drink menus and stuff, and like the actual area. So that'll be pretty cool. It's like, I mean, you can go there and get decent, I would presume, decent food and some good cocktails and stuff. So go check that out. And then the Breakaway Music Festival at Map Free Stadium is coming up. That is on September 1st. And so for the Keep, the grand opening date's August 29th. So it says all day, so who knows when they actually open. But the Breakaway Music Festival is September 1st, so that would be cool too. Tickets are kind of expensive for that. I don't know what all bands were there, but it's like $70 for general admission. I guess Chance the Rapper, it's a name I've heard, but I'm not familiar with.
I love Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, so I guess he'll be there. So that would be cool.
My sister just went to a Chance concert a couple of months ago.
Cool, I guess. Not my thing, but teach their own.
Acid rap?
Yeah, whatever. I don't even know what that is.
You don't even know the genre, man.
Yeah, so... anyway, so moving on to community, so those are only 2 events. There might be some other events going on, and our if any of our listeners send us events, like if you just say, hey, this is going on, I don't care what it is, like we'll announce it. So
there's a 100% chance we'll bring it up.
Yeah, just because that'd be cool.
Somebody's gonna be like, yeah, I'm actually getting married next Monday.
Yeah, I swear to God, we'll post that. You preferably have a link though too, like a link to like your. Have a link to your like gift registry. Maybe you'll get some anonymous.
But probably not. Eric is actually going to anonymously like buy you a beer.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway. So more moving on to community. So we'll probably go through that. I don't think there's today. We don't have a ton of. So for our community events, we have a bunch of stuff, but. I don't know. Like normally in community, like it drags on. Like we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. But so the first one I think for some people might be interesting, but maybe other people don't care. But so there's like an 18-acre section. If you can imagine, like it's like between Grandview and the Arena District, like in that general vicinity. But anyway, so White Castle, who's headquartered here, in case you didn't know, they're going to be like redeveloping their headquarter property there. I think I don't know. I mean, I think they could do something way more grand than what they're doing, just from what I'm seeing from the proposal. And you guys, listeners, can always check it out. We'll post it. But I do think it's cool that like they're doing a headquarters, but they're also having like apartments and kind of like the mixed use development stuff. I think maybe even a hotel.
I'm amazed that they're making money and can afford to renovate anything.
Yeah,
people,
I guess.
People still go to White Castle, aside from like stoners at 2 a.m.?
I guess. I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go there all the time, but I don't eat meat, so like now there's no point. So that's going on, or that's kind of cool. Yeah, so you can read about that in the link here, and then there's another. So we talked about the Smart Columbus thing a couple of times, which is obviously awesome, and we're gonna post a link. This is just like an FYI, but we're gonna post a link for they did like an interview on Columbus Underground for like what to expect from Smart Columbus in year 2. So it's already been a year. But they have a bunch of, they're talking about a whole bunch of cool stuff with, things that they're working on and stuff. So if you want to keep up to date, this is more, like I said, just more of an FYI to our listeners.
It's sort of a state of the Smart Columbus project.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. We'll have a link to post to that, and then so here's another. So this is another kind of like an FYI cool. If you're listening, you should just go read it and check it out. So apparently, there used to be a nightclub in Columbus. Trevor, I don't know if you saw this, called like Catacombs.
No, I never heard of it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, super cool.
So was it like creepy as fuck?
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you want to go to a nightclub called Cat?
Oh, it looks so cool. Imagine the Halloween parties. But in the 1940s, so they had this, this place or whatever, and it was like there's like skeletons everywhere and like actual human skeletons and like, like bodies and like all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I just think it looks super cool. Like I wish we still. I mean, I don't. Obviously, respect to the dead and all that good stuff. But
the most amazing.
They have a bunch of pictures. So we got this posted, but they have all these pictures and all this stuff, and it was really cool. So
the most amazing thing about this is there were nightclubs in Columbus in the 40s.
Oh yeah, man! People were getting down.
I mean, I guess they had to do something before the internet. So dance and fuck.
Yeah.
That fills it. Had to have a way to meet people before Tinder.
Yeah. Yeah. Now everybody's just a shut-in. Did you go to the food truck festival? I think it was last weekend, right?
I did not.
It was pretty good. The Bar Luco, which is an Argentinian food truck, and we actually tried it. I just got some fries because I don't eat meat, but they actually won like best food truck there.
That must really disappoint you.
No, I mean I don't. The food that I had tasted fantastic. So, and there's huge lines for everything there.
It's just that Argentina is sort of known for being a very like meat heavy sort of what do you call it? Like cuisine.
Yeah.
Like everything they make has meat in it.
I mean, meat tastes good. I just choose not to eat it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying of all the cards to win, it's like the meatiest country.
Yeah. But so what I had there though was pretty good. And then so I guess my updates today are kind of more like announcements, if you will. But another kind of cool things going on. I love these like co-working spaces. I think they are fantastic. They're like showcases for how work should be for everybody, if you could. But we're gonna post a link. There's a whole bunch of different co-working spaces open up in Upper Arlington, Short North, downtown, etc. So. Those are some cool things to check it out. And they're actually, I mean, they're pretty good for, we were talking about like minority stuff. They're pretty good for like minority entrepreneurs. Like, because whenever I've gone to them, I don't know, I see people get a ton of help, especially if you're like, if you're a minority and stuff. Like, there's people falling over, head over heels to like help you out, because obviously everybody recognizes it's like, in general, like we need to bring our minorities up.
You're not implying that they need help more, are you?
Yeah, that's what I'm implying. I'm not even implying it. I'm saying it. It's just true. Like, I
don't think so.
No, they definitely do. Because if you look at for VC funding and stuff, it's a wash. Like, the vast majority of VC funding goes to not women and not minorities, in particular, not Black and Hispanic.
I don't know if you heard, but I read that since they've started to introduce women into the VC space, it's had a net negative effect on women VCs.
Really?
Yeah. So women VCs are actually less likely to support a female VC, or a female founder's ideas than a male founder's.
Not cool, if that's the case, but. So anyway, those I guess are my like community updates / announcements. Nothing really to. I mean, I guess we could talk about the VC funding stuff, but it's kind of boring today.
Yeah, I've got a couple of community things that have happened in the last week or so too.
Yeah. Okay.
So some brave individual in the wake of the Charlottesville and everybody wanting to bust up statues went down to Camp Chase, which for those of you who don't know, it's a local, well, it used to be a prison camp here in the north. For it was a Confederate prison camp. The North held, certain prisoners here, and they had a statue of a Confederate soldier to mark the location, and somebody decided to bust it up.
Okay.
That's about it. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
Somebody decided they didn't like a statue.
I mean, like, it's vandalism. If you want to take it down, fine, but do it through like some appropriate means, not just like show up.
It also wasn't even like a person. It was just like supposed to be like a generic Confederate soldier, because you know a lot of them were in prison there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a Confederate fan, but I definitely draw a line between, like monument, like for example, like the Confederate flag. Obviously, that should. I can't believe I didn't even know that was still a thing, that people still like they still had that on like the state house and stuff. That shocked me because that's beyond stupid. But like Confederate soldiers, for example, I think a lot of people don't really like. They've never been in dire situations. Like almost no American, especially over the last like 20 or 30, 40 years, probably has been. Well, aside from the military, because so no American really has gone through anything traumatic. Maybe even if you include like World War II or even World War I, something like the Civil War was like, you look outside your house and there are soldiers out there, and like they're burning down your village or what have you, and then something like World War II like is obviously like a huge traumatic thing, but there's no real danger to the United States. Something like the Vietnam War, like with the draft and stuff, that part of it, like the people who got drafted and the people who died, very traumatic.
Right, but civilians were never at risk. Civilians haven't really been at risk since the Civil War.
When you look at, like the average soldier, I think it's incredibly insensitive, and kind of shows a lack of intelligence and emotional intelligence in particular, to understand that people just get caught up in war. Like it's not even like, like there's people, it's like, what if people just show up and they're like, hey, like you're an able-bodied, especially men, they're like, hey, you're an able-bodied man and like you live in, I don't know, Georgia, I'm just throwing something out there, you live in Georgia and like we're under attack, like you're getting conscripted, and like and if you refuse, like they'll kill you. So it's not even fair, like so for something that I think you definitely draw a line at the average soldier, especially something that's not glorifying somebody, doing anything, I don't know, like against the, I don't know, but just like a graveyard or something. It's like these are Americans that died here. Like you don't even know, like maybe like it could be some 18-year-old kid, and he's just sitting there one day, and then people come up and they're like, hey, you're a Confederate soldier now. Or like if you if you listen to war, like war stories or what have you, they'll find people and like you get caught in like a catch-22. It's like you don't even want to be involved, and then one army comes and says, well, if you don't have this uniform on, then you're a sympathizer, and the other army comes by and they're like, if you have this uniform on, you're like a sympathizer, and it's like if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, and then people they're not thinking about the experience in the life of like the average person.
Right, I agree, and people completely lose this context as soon as generations that participated start to die off.
Yep, absolutely.
We're already seeing this. There are still a few Germans alive, but at this point, basically the consensus as far as World War II is that every German soldier is culpable.
Yeah.
And that never used to be the case.
Yeah, it's not only it's completely untrue, because again, like even if you like, I guess you could try to run away, but then at the same time, like I just like if you don't understand the mindset, I don't see how you can like pass judgment on it.
So I have a good book recommendation on this topic. It's called what is it? I think it's called Soldier X, and it was written about a soldier who was basically forced to join the Hitlerjugend, the Hitler Youth, in Germany, because his family was a group of Russian immigrants, and Germany kind of looked the other way early on in the war effort for people who volunteered to join the army for those types of families.
Yeah.
Because, it's not like Germany just all at once decided they were, gathering up all the population and calling them. They did it, they had their little tier system. And immigrants were pretty, non-Jewish immigrants were pretty low on the list of people who were bad for society.
Right. I mean, yeah.
And so it was about this man who served as a Russian translator on the German lines.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, like, so if he doesn't do that, maybe the Germans kill him. Well, then when Germany loses the war, the Russians show up and they're like, oh yeah, so you were helping out the Germans. And it's like, people just, again, they just lose that, they've never been in a situation where they have to make some sort of choice like that. They've never been in any sort of traumatic life or death, world-changing event, and they just think that they can just turn around and be like, oh, well, why don't they just go dig up all the Confederate graves? Why not do that? I mean, if you're going to sit here and, just deface like the cemetery or something like that, why stop there? Why don't you just go dig up the bones too? Knock down all
So thinking about it, this isn't a new idea. This is actually a profoundly old idea. This is the way we used to conduct warfare. If you look at the history
they go in and just completely wipe you out.
Of, say, the Persian Empire.
Yep.
The Persian Empire would remove historical traces that, a civilization before them had ever even existed when they took over a territory.
Yep.
No statues, no monuments. We're looking at a very old way.
It's very barbaric, to say the least.
A very ancient way of looking at war victories.
Yep.
Which is kind of surprising considering...
considering how is that? I don't understand how that's progressive. So, all right.
You don't think behaving like Xerxes II is progressive?
I don't know. It's progressive for its time.
Let's see.
Well, yeah, that's what people say about like Genghis Khan, because he was like, or Genghis Khan, whatever. They say that about him because he, like, if you submitted to him, he like let you, and you paid tribute and you like fought in his army. He like let you have your own religion and stuff, but he's still like a genocidal maniac.
That wasn't a new idea, though. I mean,
oh no, I'm not saying it was, but
so most of his administrative policies he adopted from the Chinese.
Yeah,
the Chinese had been engaging in mass warfare, and that sort of dealt with issues of recruitment for many thousands of years before the Mongols did.
Yeah.
All right, and then so one last quick community topic I wanted to talk about, and so there's a bill that's been introduced by Representative Leland, who is actually the representative for my district here, and probably most of North Columbus. So if you live in North Columbus, this is your guy.
Okay.
He's pushing in a bill to treat white supremacy groups and hate groups. However that's defined, it's not really well defined in the bill, but to treat them as terrorists, or as terrorist organizations, which, I'm not certain if this is the case, but it seems to me if you're calling them terrorists, that you're attempting to apply the Patriot Act to them, and then you're trying to strip away due process in the event they commit a crime.
Yeah.
And I think this is absolutely asinine. I think the Patriot Act in general, and waiving due process because somebody's existence is a threat to your country's freedom is fucking nonsense.
Yeah, I largely agree with that. I think, like in the article we have, one of the things they were talking about was having the police like track those groups. That I don't really have a problem with, because that's how bad things happen. Like, people get together, they form organizations like that. Like neo-Nazis and stuff, and then they go bomb stuff, or it's not limited to neo-Nazis either. So that I don't really have a problem with, but the issue is, like, I just feel like they're not being very careful with it. It's a very heavy-handed, like, from a freedom of speech and freedom of right to due process and all that kind of stuff. This feels like it's just like I don't feel like I just feel like they're kind of discarding all that, and then they're just saying, like, well.
Hey, Eric, I have a
they're
question.
Just terrorists. Like,
I have a question for you.
So, well, hold on. Like, so,
sure.
What is the, like, how is that any different than all the, like, racists and stuff that want to just label every Islamic center terrorist organization? Is it any different? I don't think so.
We shouldn't be giving the designation terrorist organization in the first place. There shouldn't be extrajudicial, like, rights waived because you have this magical title attached to you.
Yeah.
But Eric, what's a hate group?
I guess a group that hates. I don't know. What do you mean?
That's an important question, right?
Yeah.
Like, what groups are we considering hate groups?
Right. And then even with that, it's like, well, one man's hate group's another man or woman's freedom fighter too. So the issue with it is it's just like it's I don't know, it's too ambiguous, it's too authoritarian. I'm just not a fan of bills like that who just kind of label, well, you're all just terrorists now, and then. So like let's say there's all these, a bunch of progressives or whoever, and they like hate Donald Trump. Well, what's stopping him from going out and just saying all Islamic centers and mosques and stuff in America are terrorist organizations? Nothing really. The same logic applies. It's just as stupid. So
they sound like hate groups to me.
Yeah, exactly. I do think the neo-Nazis I can't say this unequivocally, but I do think that for the most part they are hate groups.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is like if we're just going to use this ambiguous term hate groups, like
or terrorists, like we got to go fight the terrorists.
Who gets to make that designation?
Yeah.
Because sure, let's say Donald Trump is like, well, like look at Sharia. It's obvious if you read Sharia law that they hate women. Therefore, they're a hate group.
Yeah. So should we just have every Sharia law organization or pro Sharia law group in the United States labeled as a terrorist organization?
Maybe.
That's the slippery slope you go down. It's like when you start with one, it's like, well, what if you get some authoritarian asshole in government? Like if you're a progressive, you definitely think Trump's an authoritarian asshole. So if you get him in there, and what's stopping him?
So let's take Black Lives Matter.
Another one, perfect example.
They seem to hate cops. So are they a hate group?
Yeah.
It does seem, if you read the bill, that they're making it so that the cops ultimately have sort of jurisdiction over what they're considering a hate group.
Yeah.
And so do you really want the authority to call something a hate group in the hands of the police?
Yep. Ultimately, I think bills like this are very reactionary and short-sighted. And again, it's not. In my view, you can ask me any day of the week. Unequivocally, white nationalists, any race nationalist group that participates in any sort of race superiority or violence, especially if they are violent at all, that's ridiculous. But any sort of race superiority kind of groups or anything like that, anything resembling that. Those to me are all bad hate groups, but I'm not going to say that we should just throw in this bill and then, oh, hey, well, we're just going to call them terrorists if they happen to, cross whoever's in charge is, and that's, it's anti-freedom of speech, it's anti-constitutional, or I think it's unconstitutional probably, and it's not American. It's not what America stands for.
Ultimately, you shouldn't be trusting whoever is currently elected in the government to decide what's a hate group for you and what's a terrorist group.
Yeah. You need to peacefully change the minds of people if you want to. That's the way to go. Using the government to just say, well, whatever we think is a terrorist organization now is just completely lazy, dishonorable way to go about it.
And I think you hit on something that's really pretty brilliant when you said
I get that a lot. Yeah,
you really don't. No. But when you said that it's reactionary and it's short-sighted, I do think the support for it is. But I think what you're actually seeing is something that was summed up by Winston Churchill as never let a good crisis go to waste.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because from
they're just getting political gain out of it.
Yeah, from Representative Leland's standpoint, I think he's leveraging this so that he's guaranteed to win his next election.
Yeah, that dude doesn't give a shit about anybody.
He's already lined up his pieces. That's all he has to campaign on.
Absolutely. So
I think that's it for community, Eric.
Yeah. So it started off with some fun stuff, and then we went straight uphill. Yeah, so moving on to the tech news, there's a Wall Street Journal article. Wow, how do I do words? So basically, Google started issuing some refunds to advertisers over fake traffic. So for people who are very internet naive, is what I'm going to call them, a lot of stuff that you see, tweets, Facebook crap, whatever, a lot of that's done by bots. I don't think people understand that, like clicks, likes, etc. The reason for that is there's money involved with that. right?
Yeah, even the front page of Reddit is highly manipulated by companies.
Yes, exactly. Even so, like people were talking about like the election and stuff like too, like the Russian hackers and like all this stuff. This is all kind of the same general vicinity. There's people who are paid to, or for whatever reason they want things upvoted or liked, or they want certain websites, click 30 million times, so then it ends up on the front page of Google, and then somebody else makes a boatload of money or what have you. So Google just started, reimburse. I guess they call it some of this traffic or something like that, and more or less just started giving out refunds for it. And that kind of brings, because we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and that brings up that fun point you mentioned about, was it uBlock Origin that's gonna?
No, so actually somebody forked uBlock Origin, because uBlock Origin is open source. So they forked the code for uBlock Origin and created something called ad nauseam. So it has all the features of uBlock Origin, except it also manipulates click-through data, manipulates demographic data, time data, anything that you could use for the purposes of advertisement data analytics. It just completely throws a wrench in it and gives you terrible data.
Yeah. So I love that, because I am not a fan of the online advertising industry whatsoever. And I don't care, how much money they make. I don't care. I just don't care about any of it. It's just, I think it's a poor industry. But yeah. So what's funny about that? So I don't know if maybe our listeners may or may not know. Hopefully, please, for the love of God, if you're listening and you don't have an ad blocker installed on whatever web browser you're using, stop podcast right now, pause it, go to Google or DuckDuckGo or Bing or whoever, and then type in like Firefox ad blocker, or just go to the Mozilla, whatever.
Just get uBlock Origin.
Yeah.
It blocks shitty scripts. It also blocks, so it blocks everything that like something like AdBlock Plus will block, but it also blocks shitty annoying scripts that do things like allow people to pop up something in your face like, hey, would you like to sign up for our newsletter?
Yeah.
Click yes, or click I hate myself.
Yeah, exactly. So pause the podcast, download that, and then send us a whole bunch of money or something for saving you from all of for helping you take back the internet.
Every ad you see, or every ad you don't see, just give us like a penny.
Yeah, that'd be great. And good luck counting all those ads and all the trackers and oh god.
If you include everything, like they go to google.com and then they owe us like $2.
Yeah. So so what's funny though about the uBlock? Wait, was that what it was? uBlock. But I was just saying ad nauseam. That's right.
Very clever name, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, what's funny about that is like the whole throwing off the data. I honest to God think that these companies are in for a world of trouble over the next few years, because people already hate ads. A lot of people use apps for things, and then they don't want ads in apps. There's no good way to do that. And there are groups of people who, like, the developers of ad nauseam, who they just want to ruin all that stuff because they don't like being tracked. They don't like having Google and Facebook have all this like power with the internet. It's losing what was fundamental about the internet, which is being decentralized and not having these people track everywhere you freaking go, and then make sure they can sell you advertisements to make you more likely to buy stuff and all that stuff. So I was very happy to see that there is this Google having to give out all this having to pay all this money for I guess they call it ad fraud, and I say it's like it's not fraud to me. I'm just like, well, it's to me it's no morally it's no worse than.
So I disagree. It is. I think it's ad fraud. I think it's a good name because of what Google is talking about in particular. So when Google is referring to ad fraud, what they're referring to are owners with like nets of bots. So botnets. I don't know why I bothered. So with botnets, basically like clicking their own ads like thousands of times in order to make themselves money using these bots. So I think that's completely different because they're basically just using their own ads that they put on their own websites to generate revenue. So I think that's fraud.
Yeah, I disagree. If you want to call it fraud, then I think the tracking and stuff is equally fraud. But that's me. To me, it's just like, well, they're just having some bot click that. I just don't care.
Well, here's the thing though. Google and whoever is like, if you put like Google ads on your website, then in order to do that, Google has you establish a contract saying that you won't fake your data.
Yeah, but
this is you faking your data.
So that's where I have the problem with, is because on the other hand, even if you don't go to like Facebook, for example, even if you don't even use it, they still track you. If you go to the websites and they have Facebook bots that will track you, they'll still track you, even if that's like fraud too. So for me, at least morally, they're equivalent, and I just don't care. And
I wouldn't call that fraud. I do think it's a shitty thing to do, but I don't think it falls into that.
Maybe they're different things. But
fraud is like a manipulation thing.
Well, I think it's manipulative, but to me, either way, they're morally equivalent. It's like, well, if you're just going to track people without their consent, then I'm not going to sit here and get mad when somebody builds a bot that clicks a button 30 million times so that they make money off your stupid platform. I just don't care.
On the other hand, in one case, you're talking about you voluntarily going to someone's website.
Well, what else are they going to use?
But here's what I'm saying. In one case, you're volunteering to go to some website and then they sell your data to Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And in the other case, Google and this company shake hands and sign a contract saying, I'm going to do this stuff, and then it's violated.
Yeah, but it's not like a normal contract. It's like a terms of agreement contract, which I guess are legally binding, but nobody reads them anyway. So to me, it's just at least morally they're equivalent. So I lose. I actually gain sleep when I think about it. I don't lose any sleep at all. I actually gain a couple hours of sleep thinking about.
You're gonna sleep 10 hours tonight just thinking about it.
I think about Google getting frauded over this, because it's if they were being the do not evil company they were supposed to be.
Hey, they changed that, by the way.
Well, yeah, of course they did, because they can't live up to it. But if they stop tracking people who aren't using their services, like me, for example, then I'd be okay with that. Or if they just tracked, if I went to Google and then I, searched through their website, that's fine. But even if I don't use Google products or Facebook's products, they're still tracking me, and I have that to me is just ridiculous. So,
so do you know what is funny? This is sort of an aside, but do you know what Google changed their phrase from "Don't be evil"?
Be as good as you can, or something equally stupid.
Yeah, so they changed "Don't be evil" to "Do the right thing."
But they don't do the right thing.
But, here's my argument, too. Everyone thinks they're doing the right fucking thing.
Yeah.
Do you think Adolf Hitler thought he was not doing the right thing?
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
He thought he was doing the right thing for Germany.
Yeah.
Why would you change that?
Right.
It's such a terrible idea. You've made it into this relative thing that pretty much everyone, except maybe depressed people, would agree that they're already doing.
Yeah.
So it's just do what you do. Good job.
Yeah, be you. Okay. It's be you, Hitler. Just be you. Yeah, they're stupid. They do hire a bunch of great people. I'll put this on my gravestone. When Elon Musk said, I think, or he was quoted as saying it, or wrote it in a book or something like that, when he said it's unfortunate that the smartest people in the world are trying to figure out how to get people to just click on ads. It's that's stupid. It's just stupid. So, moving on to something less contentious. So, as our readers hopefully know, or our listeners, I should say, not readers, unless they're getting a text transcript, I would love to see what that looks like, because there's probably a whole bunch of craziness. But so Amazon bought Whole Foods. The deal was approved by the FCC, I think Monday or earlier this week or something like that. And the very first thing they're going to do is drop prices, and then the second thing they're going to do, which is cool, is give special deals to Amazon Prime members, which I am one of those. Now, I don't think I'm going to start shopping at Whole Foods.
Yeah, I won't either.
Well, I don't have it's not a Whole Foods thing. It's just because I live really close to a Kroger, and as long as the prices are pretty similar, I don't think there's a big difference in the quality of the food. I think that's all overstated and stuff. So
it's a Whole Foods thing for me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so expensive. And
they're going to drop the prices. So,
but not enough to make me shop.
Well, what if they do? What if the prices are the same as Kroger?
I shop at Aldi.
Okay, what if the prices were close to Aldi?
Then I would buy them out of their stock with all the money I had and then resell it to people.
Yeah.
Because I think the production cost of a lot of what they supply are above Aldi prices. But anyway, so I guess my thoughts on this are, it makes sense. Just looking at it from a finance perspective, the margin that Whole Foods relied on, or was required to have,
5%. was it? I'm pretty sure I read that their profit margin was like around 5% or something like that.
Yeah, so they're going to see a huge improvement in logistics supply. They're going to see big improvements in sort of predictive shipping. They're going to be able to leverage all of Amazon's stuff so they can make stuff cheaper. And Amazon also has a lower profit margin that they ride.
Yeah,
which is like 2-3%.
So they're saying that analysts, what do they know, are saying that the prices may be lowered 15 to 25%.
Yeah, I heard 20, so it's about right.
Yeah,
it's not that surprising.
Yeah, so
I think acquisition cost was probably pretty massive for Whole Foods, just because the business.
It was they had Amazon paid $13 billion for Whole Foods.
Well, no, I mean acquisition cost per product. I'm not talking.
I see.
I'm not talking cost of acquisition. Yeah, I could see. Why that might get confused.
So then in related news, Google is now partnering with Walmart. So that's one thing that makes me just drives me batty. But so Amazon or Google, I guess they got to get in this game too. So they're trying to partner with Walmart. And then the first thing I read about it was you could use your Google Home to like order groceries. So like, I don't know, like I don't. Maybe this is just like a East Coast thing where people like don't have these big grocery stores. I could see that, but like I don't have any interest in Google like okay, so what if you say like give me avocados? Okay, well, like how ripe? Like I eat a lot of avocados, so like I need them at different levels of ripeness.
Most people don't care.
See, but that doesn't make any sense. Like you have to care because like if you're gonna cook dinner tomorrow, right? And you say give me avocados, and then they give you a whole bunch of avocados that aren't ripe. I mean, you're gonna sit here and tell me you don't care. Because like you literally can't use them to cook because they're not ripe.
We just wait a couple days. You make something else.
But I'm just saying that's like people definitely care about that.
Like your worst case isn't that bad of a case.
Nah, I think it's pretty bad. Especially Google, order me a TV. Okay. Google, order me a Sony 46-inch Bravia TV with 4K resolution. There's like 15 different ones. And then even though, like, how do you even know that was the best model? Like, why did you even pick that? Do you not do any research at all? And like, I mean, how do you even know that that's a model? So at that point, you're already going to Amazon to like look up different TVs. Like, why don't you just click a button? Like, why do you need to do all this?
I don't think most people don't do as much research as we do with a purchase like that. You'd be really surprised.
Like people have that, but how do you even know to order that model? Like, how would you even know to order, like, how do you even know to order that size?
Well, I think what's more common would be, like, somebody would be like, okay, Google, get me a 1080p 42-inch TV.
That's insane.
Well, I mean, it happens. Like, some people just value their time a lot more than they do their money, especially if they've got multiple kids running around, a wife to take care of, or a husband to take care of. That kind of thing.
It's just too.
Especially for groceries.
It's just too incomprehensible to me because I mean.
Well, you're like me though. You will like go out and research a purchase. For
I want to understand what I'm buying.
A pretty significant amount of time, right? Because you don't want to own. First of all, you don't want to own junk. You want to own something that you're going to use for a while, and you want it to be like your thing that it's this.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't that way.
But like, how do you like? What if you're going to order yogurt? I mean, you really don't care. Like, there could be, like, you could say, okay, Google, order me yogurt. And then they could, like, I see it all the time. Like, it would just get you the most expensive yogurt, probably. Or then, like, then at the same time, they have the exactly almost equivalent, like, Kroger brand yogurt, $10 for $10 or something. And then, what if you order something, like, you say, okay, Google, give me yogurt, or, like, add yogurt to my order or something. And it gets, like, the slightly better one than the Kroger one, but it's, like, 3 times as expensive. Like, I just don't see how, like, the voice things are going to be able to parse out all these different things.
I think a lot of people would just specify, say, like a brand. Okay, Google.
Which is not, and that's not a good thing either, because now you're just relying on, like, what a brand is, and so that's, like, how are, like, new entrants to the market able to compete? If, like, everybody just allies with, like, Google, like... So, how are you going to be able to get, like, the cheaper cereal?
Well, first of all, I don't think most people are going to do that. I think people are going to do that for, like, little one-off things. Like, oh, I ran out of detergent.
Yeah. I don't know. But then is that even, like, cheaper? Like, how much is it going to cost to get it sent to you? Like, Amazon doesn't even send you stuff like that for cheap.
Like some things to do, but a lot of that stuff's like add-ons. Like you, even for Prime members, you have to spend a certain amount, or like you have to buy. Yeah, you have to spend a certain amount of things in order to get it all in like one package.
I think it's marketed towards a very specific portion of the market who wants it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's value in like, if I think there would be value in, like, so like I think Kroger does it, and or Giant Eagle probably does it too, but they do like the click list thing or whatever. So I have I think it makes sense if I go on and like I'm clicking and like specifying all the things I want. Like I can look at deals, I can look at sales, I can, if I have coupons, I don't know, like what have you. And you can like look at all that stuff and you say, I want all these things and I want to go pick it up, or I want them delivered. Like this whole big group of groceries. But just sitting there interacting with the voice, I guess we've gone completely off the rails with from the Whole Foods. But it was something that kind of bothered me, because it's like, I mean, I don't even go to Walmart. So
anyways,
yeah,
a super premium, really expensive food store is becoming cheaper.
Yeah.
And also you're giving Amazon money. The end.
Yeah. I do like... there are some things I do like from Whole Foods, but I buy them from Amazon anyway, so... like soap. Well, actually, I buy them from somebody else, but like an actual person in Columbus that makes it, but... Before
You're
I
such
did,
a pretentious
before I
hipster.
did, no, it's a skin thing, like even like the cheaper soaps and stuff. It just like dries out my skin, so I can just like buy.
I see. Well, you can always moisturize, but anyways.
Well, I still have to do that.
Let's roll on to our next topic.
Okay. So the next thing we had in tech was coding boot camps. So for those who might not be in the tech sector, I guess. There are, or maybe you're looking to move, and I know some people have done this, there are these like code boot camps, and so you pay them like, I don't know, up to $25,000 or something for like a 12-week boot camp, and then they give you like a huge crash course in like software development. I'm doing air quotes here because I don't know exactly what they teach, but a lot of it's kind of like, use these tools and build this website, or use these tools and build like a mobile app or something like that. So
if I can interject and be fair here, most of them are nowhere near $25,000. There are some that are ridiculously priced, but usually
like $10,000 or something, right?
I mean, I would say the average is like 6-7.
Okay. So anyway,
for like the legit ones that also try and get you jobs at major.
Well, yeah.
companies.
So that's why I was gonna to mention. It's like, I mean, so they are making money, which in itself isn't necessarily bad, so there's no issue with that. But there are a lot of them are kind of popping up, and they're just like sketchy boot camps. Then students aren't getting jobs, and then what have you. So we have a good link to the article with that. But I did think that so I did see that there is one or many probably now that they won't actually take any tuition until you actually have a job above a certain salary amount. So I think that's honorable and logical. Like, it's everything good that they should be doing, but there's some where they're just like, yeah, screw it. Like, we're just going to try to get in all these people, and like, we don't care if they get a job or not. And I think they're going to get a reality check from the federal government soon. No pun intended here with the check thing. I guess it's not really a pun if I had to explain it, but so I think they're going to get a reality check soon from the government, and then a lot of them are getting just shut. Like, they're just getting shut down.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't prey on people like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean,
it honestly sort of resembles the current trend in cryptocurrencies, I think.
Yeah, all the they don't even do those in the United States anymore. Like, a lot of people are doing them like overseas because the regulations in the United States are too. It's like,
makes sense. The IRS.
It's like too legit. Like, you actually like have to be.
Well, the IRS saw that it hit billions, and then they suddenly decided that they needed to be involved because there's actual money that they care about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes, though. Like, if some new type of currency-esque thing that wasn't cryptocurrency popped up tomorrow, the IRS wouldn't give a shit until it was like a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's just not worth their time. They're understaffed. They have bigger fish to fry, like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, and we will also just I guess going back to the last or the first story, we're gonna link the ad nauseum thing too, so that'll be cool.
Yeah,
I hope everybody uses it.
Feel free to download ad nauseum and then click on
on everything.
Well, no. It auto clicks for you, so you'll just be browsing through the internet, and Dollar Shave Club will find out that apparently 40% of their users are 12 to 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
who have 3 children.
Yeah, and then we'll start marketing like Barbie, man raisers or something. Something ridiculous.
I mean that's going to be one of the really interesting side effects of this is all that correlation data. Like it's going to be useless, and they're gonna and I bet somebody's going to make some really bad decisions based on some fake data.
Yeah.
All right, Eric.
Well, I mean, and so I guess a little bit of maybe it's a little bit more work related, but I think it's a big mistake to just blindly trust the data. Like the data is like your scientific instrument and stuff that you use. But at the same time, if you look out your window and you see that like you're flying into a volcano, it doesn't matter what the data says. Like you gotta be smarter than just saying, oh well, the data says this, and then just because that's not how you innovate, and that's not how you.
Well, yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't even trust the data if the data is your end goal.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the reproducibility crisis in science right now.
Yep.
Even the data as the end rather than the means to the end isn't necessarily trustable.
Right.
A lot of ways to manipulate data to say anything you want it to say.
Oh yeah, there's the good book. It's like How to Lie with Statistics or Lies, Damn Good Lies and Statistics. So for our listeners, if you want to hear some good ways that people manipulate, and once you read these books, you'll like look at every single newspaper article or something like that. You'll start looking and it's like, well, how do they manipulate that graph? And it makes you really think critically about it. I think it's one of the really good books.
You know what really fucks with me when they do because my science teacher taught us this like very early on, like 7th grade.
Yeah.
Anytime they show a graph and they show a break in the graph where it's like 0% break, 50%, or they're just starting the bottom at 50%, and then it's like 55%, 60%. And they make the bar look twice as big.
This is ridiculous.
All right, Eric. So let's move on to the feature after that tangent.
Okay.
Next. All right. I'm
so I don't remember what I said. All right. So I think was it the last time we recorded because we just skipped a week
2 weeks ago.
We took a week off just because this is quite a bit of work. So since then there's been a bunch of stuff going on, and our feature last week was the Charlottesville incident where we kind of just discussed that and whatnot. And now
let me just say real quick.
Yeah.
Holy hell, has it blown up since then?
Yeah, which is I guess kind of part of what we're going to talk about here. And so I saw an article today. So some people have been calling for them to the city of Columbus take down the Christopher Columbus statue.
And there have been ongoing protests on the statue.
Yeah, so there's been what I've been seeing is it's kind of we're getting different levels of ridiculousness. Some of those things may be justified. We could probably spend multiple hours discussing the possible justifications for tearing down the Christopher Columbus statue. That's that. I guess maybe we'll talk about that just briefly here too. But this is the kind of thing where I just think it's beyond ridiculous. So I saw an article today, and we'll post it. I guess in Pickaway County. I don't even know where that is. Maybe do you know where that is? Is that up north?
Somewhere? I don't know. I can check real quick.
East of Circleville. That's what it says. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, there are some roads and a cemetery and some gravestones and a chapel named after this guy or this family with the last name of Hitler. Unfortunate last name, and I guess we were going to talk about the broadcaster. That was the other. That was the first straw. So we'll bring that up here in a second. So, but this is a little bit more closer to home.
Right.
Here,
just south of Columbus.
Yeah. So it's just south of Columbus, a little bit east of Circleville. So there's these things, and they just happen to have Nelson Hitler or Huber Hitler or something. And everybody's freaking out, and they want to take down the Hitler road signs and all this stuff. I think it's just ridiculous. Maybe we can bring this up too when we're talking about for readers or listeners. I keep thinking we're writing, I guess. So for our listeners, another thing that happened this week was there was a guy who was going to do a broadcast in Charlottesville. And he's an Asian guy, and I bring it up just because I think it makes it more ridiculous that he's just an Asian guy. And so what I read, ESPN and this guy mutually agreed to have him not do the broadcast because his name is Robert Lee. So I think we're kind of seeing, I don't know, a substantial extreme overreaction to.
I mean, this shit's ridiculous.
In this thing, obviously the Charlottesville stuff is absolute. It's not good. It's tragic. It's a tragedy. I am not at all amused seeing people who are Nazis or like trying to be part of the Nazi. It's sick. It makes me sick. But there's this guy, this Asian, there's the Asian guy that just happened to be named Robert Lee, and like now it's like they don't want to offend people because he happens to share this name. And it's the same thing with like this wanting to take down like Hitler Road and stuff. Like where do you draw the line with this? I mean, it's stupid. It's just it just makes me crazy.
Like half a dozen statues have been broken across the country. There was a senator who implied that after Trump's tacit support of white supremacy that he should be assassinated.
Yeah, obviously that's.
I mean, there's been so much crazy shit in the fall of Charlottesville, and I think it goes back to what we said earlier when we were talking about the Chase Camp statue being destroyed.
Yeah.
The bill that's being passed. There are people attempting to exploit this tragedy for political gain. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Like, so even in this article, it's like the original Hitler family immigrated to America before Ohio was even a state, and it's like they don't have any, like they don't even have anything to do with any of this. Like just because they share their last name doesn't mean you have to like tear all this stuff down, right? I mean, like, well, why do you even stop at Hitler? Like, why don't you go tear down? There's statues of like Lenin, for example. We were talking about this earlier. Hello.
Yeah. If you think about it, this is actually. It's actually really interesting because we did the exact same thing in World War II, right? We tried to rename Frankenfurters to hot dogs.
Oh yeah, or freedom fries recently.
Yeah. This is the exact same thing. We don't like something, and so we're going to rename it. We're basically, I mean,
it's just like whitewashing history. They're just like pretending this stuff doesn't exist. This
is us regressing as a society.
Oh yeah,
we are so scared of words. We are so scared of names that we have to rename things. You're not allowed to be named Robert Lee and be broadcast anymore.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have the last name Hitler. If you do, well.
So they're gonna make people like change their names?
Yeah.
I mean, what about like they start doing that for like serial killers? Like, are there more Bundys? Like, they're gonna make him start like if you're a Bundy, you like gotta change your name to like a government. Politically correct social justice warrior approved last name. I mean, how stupid and ridiculous is it? I get the outrage at like wanting to take down the Confederate statues, even though I don't know how I feel about it. Still, I at least understand the feeling of saying that those to them represent or to anybody. I'm not like singling out any sort of group, but saying that those are symbols of repression and symbols. I at least can understand that line of reasoning, even if I don't. Well, yeah, but you can at least admit that it is far and away in a different class than renaming Hitler Road.
So here's my
the Huber Hitler Chapel or whatever the heck it's called.
Here's my problem with that. I think they're issues of the same kind, and I don't see where they draw the line. I mean. So at what point do we blow up Mount Rushmore? Right, that was an article written by Salwan last week that we should blow up Mount Rushmore. There are people talking about renaming Washington Park in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, should we start stripping like MLK off the street signs and take down statues of Martin Luther King Jr. because he thought that homosexuality was like an American culture problem?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So all it is. I just have so many words I can't even. It's just so anti everything that this country stands for, and that the freedom of speech stands for, and that being.
I mean, there are people openly protesting like freedom of speech now.
Yeah, that's how ridiculous things have gotten. I don't know like what the source of this is. Is it just like the soapbox, social media, like regurgitating trash can of stupid outrage? I don't know. Where does this come? Like, I mean, were people doing this even 10 years ago? I mean, I'm sure there were like protests or stuff, but like, were people saying like, well, let's tear down, like, why don't they tear down they're gonna start tearing down the Jefferson Memorial? Like, at what point do you? At what point though? Like, okay, so what about MacArthur? Like, we were talking about this before the show. I'm pretty so MacArthur, like, I mean, they were napalm bombing people in Vietnam. So like, why aren't Vietnamese people out like protesting against like the MacArthur Foundation? It shares the same name. I think it might even be related to him. I'm not sure, but it has the same name, and it's offensive to drop napalm on people in Cambodia and Vietnam and stuff. So why aren't people out protesting that?
We're circling the drain over and over of a very of an issue that's already happened before. We already have precedent for let's take this to its logical extreme. If you take it to its logical extreme and you remove everything because of the imperfections of everyone, it starts to look a lot like Year Zero in China.
Yeah.
Right?
It's where yeah, it's just like, oh god, it's just
where we're going to.
Why don't they just start murdering professors? I mean, if you're teaching American history, maybe you're just teaching the wrong thing. So like, let's just start killing you. It's too intellectual or something.
Or at the very least, we need to scrub every the existence of all people who have died. Just remove them because they were tainted. They did not come from a progressive time. Obviously, they held ideas that were bad. If we're going to have this objective morality, that you were bad. In comparison to our time, then we need to scrub away everyone, right?
Yeah.
There are no good civil rights leaders.
Right. There's no good nobody. Yeah. Because what you're saying is there are this perfect moral standard that nobody can ever reach, and then you're also with that you're implying that such a thing as moral progress is impossible because if you're saying there's an objective moral standard, then that's just it. Like you can't progress or regress from that. So
I don't think that's true. Simply because if there's like this objective.
No, I mean it's true by definition. If you're saying that there's this one objective morality, then you can't. That's it. Like you can't progress.
Well, the thing is, if the society's not there, it can progress towards that objective thing.
I don't think so. But with regard to the Columbus statues, or let's not even use him because I think that's too easy. So, people look at. I heard somebody argue that they shouldn't tear down. So I was having a discussion with somebody, and they said, I was like, well, why don't we tear down like the Jefferson Memorial? He owned slaves, inexcusable. But what he said was, oh well, it was like normal at the time to do that.
It was normal. It was normal 70 years later.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're gonna say that, then like you have to judge people by being the product of their time. Right, so, like, I just like I don't understand how they're just selectively doing that. It's just logically inconsistent. They're just like picking people they want to feel like they want to rally against and just say, oh well, that person was real bad, so we got to like erase them from history or whatever. Just like we're the Persians, I guess. And
I mean, so part of what's happening, I think, is that you're starting to see this like political movement gain a foothold among like the common person, and like the average American is not particularly astute at politics or rhetoric or philosophy.
Yeah,
and so you're starting to see a lot of arguments, I think, be dumbed down.
Yeah,
and so freedom of speech goes out the window. It's just sort of the whims of what people feel.
Yeah, and. It's just sickening, like, and I just don't know, like, I mean, would Abraham Lincoln been okay with gay people? So I mean, why don't we? He wouldn't have been because that would have been. I mean, that was obviously like a transgression for like the moral Christian.
Yeah, he was very Christian. Even MLK, who is much more recent, was not okay with the gay population of America.
Yeah, so obviously I'm very offended by that now, and so I think we should take down the Lincoln Memorial, and I think we should take down we should pretend Lincoln didn't exist. He didn't save the Union. And that itself was offensive because he was saving the Union but he didn't consider gay people, or you can make up all these stupid arguments.
Do you think he was pro-trans?
Yeah, like I mean, they didn't have the concept. I don't think they had the concept of like being transgender and stuff. And I fully support people being whatever gender they want. Although I do think sometimes it's gotten again that's just something that's gotten a little too political. With like all the bathrooms and stuff. But yeah, I mean, largely I'm just worried because I mean we keep seeing people. Do this kind of, oh, well, we got to take down the Hitler Street or something like that. And it's like, well, what did that guy have to do with anything? Just because you have the same name,
I mean, he had the bad luck of being born with the same name as somebody like 60 years later.
Yeah. So I mean, why don't we just go online now and we'll find every person who's ever done something bad, and if you share a name with them, you have to change your name.
Actually, yeah. Wow.
And then we have to remove any sort of street that has that name, or any references or anything like that. We have to remove them from museums too. Like because I'm going to be offended if I go to a museum and I see, oh well, back in the day people had a Hitler Street. Like I'm offended by that. So let's.
We need to strip it out of textbooks. Actually, you know what we need?
Oh yes, absolutely.
We need to re-implement what the Catholics had, where every single book had a censor go through it and manually strike out anything that was offensive to the church. We need to have that done with every book.
So another thing I'm thinking is, the Catholic Church, they did horrible things. They were burning people at the stake for religious persecution. If they found out you were gay, they would have hung you by your genitals. They would have did all kinds of stuff. So I'm actually thinking we should strip the Pope of being the Pope, and we should take Vatican City down. We should, I don't know, maybe you should burn it. I don't know what the best course of action here is. We should take that down. The Romans had slaves and used forced slaves to fight in the Colosseum, so we should tear that down. We should tear down any mention of the Romans period. They should have never existed. We were talking about the Persians. Let's go find Xerxes' tomb in Iran. We need to take that down. I mean, where do you want to start and where do you want to stop? I mean,
luckily,
people have been doing shitty things forever. So
actually, as far as breaking statues, there's a very recent modern precedent that the people in the U.S. have to look to. ISIS has been doing this the last few years, destroying priceless statues and monuments.
Yeah, so I think that because I think they're a very progressive group because they're trying to erase the history of all the gays and all the women and all the bad Western influences and all this stuff. So let's just start tearing it all down. I mean, let's tear everything down. Where do you stop?
Let's just destroy society.
Yeah. Let's tear Congress down. Let's tear the White House and the Pentagon down. How many wars and you could say genocide, some people would argue, have come from those buildings. To me, if I'm Vietnamese, maybe I'm North Korean, to me it looks like those are just giant symbols of oppression.
Let's tear down all the borders.
I escaped North Korea, I made it here to the United States, but now I see these buildings and I just find them offensive because they bombed my people. So let's tear them down.
Tear down everything.
Yeah.
Destroy civilization.
Yeah. So I completely disagree with doing any of that stuff. I will say again. I don't know how I feel about the Confederate statues because that was just a little. It feels a little bit different to me. But obviously, people are taking this way too out. It's way too extreme. When you want to start tearing down signs because they're not associated. That's the thing that kills me. It's they're not they're not associated. Those names aren't. There's no association there. They just happen to have the same configuration of letters.
Eric, it's 2017. You can't have Hitler on your buildings.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've beat this topic to death. If you don't, if our views aren't clear at this point, I don't think there's much hope for you.
Yeah, we are very pro freedom of speech, pro freedom of religion, pro freedom of gender. Every race, every gender, everything, all that stuff should be treated equally. But
I think we're both. I think we're both liberals, at least in the classical sense, that we think people should mostly be allowed to do what they want.
Yeah.
Which doesn't include destroying shit that's not yours.
Yeah.
But I guess other people are adopting more progressive.
We're just not progressive enough, I guess, Trevor. I don't know.
Progressive centuries-old ideologies of burn Carthage to the ground and salt the earth so that nothing can ever be planted there again.
So for my final note here will be, if ISIS is doing it, you might want to rethink what you're doing. So that's all. That's the last I have to say of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to wrap up?
Yeah. And please donate to the hurricane relief effort because it looks like it's getting worse. So just I have a news feed up with so I don't know. It looks like they're
but people are tweeting about it, says that it's like getting worse and worse. So strongly encourage you to help out your fellow man and woman. Do you think there's anything in Houston we could tear down? So maybe like this hurricane's there to help with that. Like, there's got to be something that's offensive there.
Let's be honest. If there are statues there,
they're offensive.
They're probably of somebody who.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So joking aside, hopefully people. I've donated it already. I donated like $10. That's obviously the least I could do. But
hey, 6 days ago, somebody tried to bomb a Confederate statue in Houston.
Yeah, there we go. It's ISIS in America. That's great.
Well, apparently God's teaming up too, and God wants that statue taken down.
Yeah.
He sent a personal message this time.
Okay.
All right. Well, this has been Columbus This Week. Thanks for joining us this week, and we hope you listen again.
Yep. Thanks. And if you find us offensive, make sure you let us know, and then we'll ridicule you.